Four different states are planning to raise their minimum wage. Now there's one state that I know of that should raise their minimum wage and they haven't yet. It's Indiana. 21 states had a minimum wage increase or cost of living adjustments at the beginning of 2020. And now, halfway into 2020, more are set to continue pushing the nation's average minimum wage upwards, even as the federal minimum wage remains at $7.25. That's technically what the minimum wage in Indiana is. I've been in Indiana for 11 years, and the minimum wage has been $7.25 for the past 11, and they should have raised it. On July 1st, Illinois is set to increase its rate to $10 an hour. Oregon's standard minimum wage will move to $12 an hour, $11.50 for non-urban counties. And Nevada's rate becomes $9 for employees without health care, $8 if you have that perk. Washington, D.C. itself will institute a $15 an hour minimum wage on Wednesday, a long-time goal of the fight for the $15 an hour movement, influential in the recent Democratic primary. A number of states, including California and Massachusetts, are scheduled to reach $15 an hour in the coming years. And some cities that have leeway to set higher rates, low-wage workers earn even more. Berkeley, California's minimum wage, for example, is set to become $16.07 an hour sometime this week. Workers in 19 states will earn the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. 2 additional states, Wyoming and Georgia, have a state minimum wage below the federal level, but workers there are entitled to the federal minimum wage unless their employer is not covered by the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act. We are just working our way up to what's truly a fair wage in our country, says Kelly Blahakis Hanks, who's the president and CEO of ECOS, who also works at Business for a Fair Minimum Wage, a group that advocates for a higher pay rate. ECOS, which manufactures environmentally friendly cleaning products, has a factory in Addison, Illinois. One of the states set to see a wage increase this week. ECOS already starts their employees off at $17 an hour and argues it's in the interest of other business to embrace that wage increase. Yeah, basically, yeah. There's so many costs that hit the bottom lines of business that experience high turnover, and people that are paying low wages have a lot of high turnover because people don't want to work for a company that pays low. Blahakis Hanks says noting that the cost can hit in places from recruiting to productivity to low morale. The minimum wage during the pandemic, and it says many of the states currently are seeing a surge in the coronavirus cases are in regions of the county like the Southeast, where wage rates are likely to be at or near the federal minimum wage. Texas, for example, has seen record cases, and recently they paused its economic reopening. Its minimum wage is at the federal level. Another hard-hit state mandates at least $8.46 per hour. Washington's state minimum wage of $13.50 an hour is the most generous in the U.S. Boosting the minimum wage will help businesses and communities in dealing with the pandemic and moving toward the shared recovery, says Holly Scalar of Business for a Fair Minimum Wage Act. But the low-wage workers have been hit so hard by the ongoing pandemic that the effect of wage increases is likely to pale next to the ongoing job losses and cut hours. In Illinois, the Chicago Sun-Times talked to low-wage workers ahead of the wage increase and found stories of income plummeting because of deep cuts in the number of hours that they were working. Nearly 1 in 5 of all adults either lost their jobs or had their hours reduced at work in March. According to a report by the Federal Reserve, the job cuts were most severe for the low-income workers, with 39% of the people with a household income of less than $40,000 reported that they've lost their job in March. The last time that the federal minimum wage was raised was on July 24th of 2009. It is a record length of time with no increase since the minimum wage in 1938, which was 25 cents an hour, was signed into law. Some conservative groups have successfully argued against raises, saying a higher minimum wage wouldn't hurt the people it's trying to help. The National Restaurant Association has called the idea of raising the federal rate a job killer, and it won't be.